What did Daddy really think about the pain and sip? What's happening with Scott and Contessa? And what happens when you take a bunch of doctors to Savannah? We're talking about that all tonight on the Married to Medicine After Show.
I'm Maria Menounos, and you're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Hey everybody, welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. If you're watching and listening, then you know you are watching and listening to the Married to Medicine After Show here on AfterBuzz TV. Today we are talking Season 7, Episode 6, titled Girl Code Interrupted. We're talking the fallout from this crazy dance expo, as Dr. Daddy called it. We're talking Jackie's girls trip, and we're just going to have a whole lot of fun. Plus we've got some girl codes that we live by, some tweets, and some juicy news and gossip. But before we get into all that, my name is Alexis. I'll be hosting for the evening, and returning to help me out once again is the lovely Miss Kittie. Kaboom! How you doing, girl?
I'm wonderful, thank you. I don't think I've ever been called lovely that often.
You are so lovely. How could you not have been called lovely?
Thank you, baby.
She's holding it down. We miss you, Pietra. Get well soon. But I'm happy to have you here with me, Kittie, because she loves Married to Medicine just as much as we do.
I do. It's crazy.
Yeah, and this was a crazy episode.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I always know when they're going on a trip that it's going to be just a bunch of craziness.
I think the producers kind of know that too, and that's why they set it up that way. It's like, oh, it's getting a little stale. Let's go on a trip.
Yeah, it definitely was starting to get a little, okay, where is this going?
Right.
Why are we, what's happening? So I'm glad that they did take them on a trip, give them a new scenery. Before we talk about Savannah and all of that stuff, what did you think of the episode?
I thought it was very interesting that you know what I really like about the show, and I think I said this the last time I was here, as ratchet as it can get, these are still very professional, mature women. And I do like that element of it. So when they get out of pocket a little bit and let that ratchet come out, it's interesting to see how they try to, draw it back in. Because they're always trying to be like diplomatic and, all right, let's calm down, let's talk. But it's still in them. So I enjoyed it a lot because it just shows that despite your best efforts, sometimes, anger or emotion in general will lead you to say and do some things that you might regret later on.
Yeah, especially when it comes to friendships.
Exactly.
And, all these things have happened in the past and things that come up as they talk about the past. And I think that's the thing I think that I enjoyed and also thought just while watching this episode is, okay, it's good to see women kind of hash out their issues, but at the same time, some of this stuff, why are we still talking about it?
Girl, she is holding on to that thing.
Yeah, but we're going to get into it. We're going to talk about all of it.
Right.
Before we talk about them in Savannah, let's go meet up with Dr. Daddy, whose real name is Damon, but I call him Dr. Daddy because Heavenly calls him Daddy. And Heavenly, we're seeing the fallout from what happened with Toya and her paint party, because Heavenly didn't tell Daddy herself about the paint party. He found out through the rest of the guys, who I mentioned on the last show. I felt like it kind of made her look like she did something wrong by not mentioning it to Daddy.
It kind of did.
Like she was trying to hide something.
Right.
Which I didn't understand because I felt like Heavenly was kind of more one of the ones who was like, why are we here? Why are we doing this? I don't like this. And with the guy picking her up, I kind of felt like he not violated her.
Yeah,
but
that is a violation.
Yeah.
And see, that's the problem. And I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, go
but
ahead.
It really makes me think of, and not to get too cheap about it, people. I know that, we could have a whole week conversation about this stuff, but it's real. And this is what's happening in our society right now with Me Too and Time's Up and all that. You don't touch people that don't want to be touched by you. You don't just assume that because this is an environment that they're in. Had she gone to a strip club, it would have been ridiculous for her to be like, don't touch me. Oh my God, oh my God.
Yeah.
That's why you're there. But this is a party with grown people acting sedity and civilized. So it doesn't look good for you to just take it upon yourself. But he's a little boy. He's 20-something years old.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, so I kind of understood why she reacted that way.
Totally agree, because she didn't know what she was coming into. She thought she was just going to a birthday party they were going to paint, and it ended up being naked men, and she already kind of felt uncomfortable with it. And then one of them had the nerve to kind of pick her up.
Right.
And you can tell it really bothered her and that she didn't like it.
Exactly.
And so that's why I didn't like that she didn't just tell Daddy that herself, because the way people are making it seem is that, oh, she was getting picked up and they was wilding out. And I really don't think that was the case.
It definitely wasn't the case. You can see it in the video. We watched it. And in the replay, you can see that she was very uncomfortable. And then for, what's her name? I'm always forgetting names. I'm so sorry. I believe Simone, right. Came for her and was just like, you probably couldn't believe he picked you up.
Oh, Toya.
That's cute and all. But at the end of the day, she said, I don't feel comfortable. You could see it on her face. I just don't think that's okay. Especially, like, it's just such a perfect time for this to happen in this movement. People do not want to be touched if they're not inviting you to touch them.
Yeah.
Especially when you are literally naked, sir. How about you not do that? Not everybody is down for the party.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a real violation. And I didn't even understand why it was such a big goddamn deal. Like, we get it, you're married, you're committed. If everybody knows that going in, why are we stressing about the fact that naked men? It's fun. Like, I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I'm more open. I'm just not, it just doesn't seem that serious. As long as nobody came over here and rubbed me down.
Let's talk about Dr. Daddy's reaction to it, because I could tell in the last episode when the guys told him what happened that he was upset. But I think, in my opinion, he was more upset about the fact that he found out through the guys
as opposed
and
to her.
not through Heavenly. But in him having that conversation with her, do you understand his anger, or do you feel like he was kind of a little bit more laid back than you would be, or do you think it was valid? And he also said in there, if I did that, you would be upset.
And
so
he makes a valid point. And I hadn't thought about that. When you put the shoe on the other foot, then you're right. It does kind of raise some eyebrows. I think that if there is any anger to be had, he probably should have been mad that she did not tell him herself.
Right.
Right? Because if that's your husband, your best friend, your confidant, your pillow talker, all that, then that's what you do. You come home like, baby, wait till I tell you what happened last night. And then guess what? This is the conversation between you and I, husband. We know how this thing gets out. We know how this whole clique. Now there's going to be a witch hunt and everybody coming for me because I done spilled the beans. This is what happened. This was the party. This was her birthday. This is what she decided to do. So it wasn't like I could leave or object, but just so you know. But it's not like a conversation that you need to have with your boys and all that. It's just me and you talking.
What got me in this whole situation is that, when you hear the women talk about it, aside from Heavenly, when you hear the women talking about it, it's like, oh, it was no big deal. There was just a bunch of men walking around like we weren't doing nothing crazy. But as soon as the husbands mentioned Simone called it a twat in paint or something she said.
A gina
they were like,
paint.
that's not happening. We're not doing that. Do you think it's kind of a double standard?
It
or do you
most
think
certainly
it's fair
is.
for them to not let the guys do it because they did it?
See, here's the thing. They didn't know they were getting into it. So I think once they were kind of surprised, blindsided, however you want to look at it, that this is what was going down, they had to accept it. Nobody's just going to get up and be like, oh, this is ridiculous. I'm leaving. It's a birthday party. You want to play along. You don't want to be a spoiled sport, so you stick around.
Yeah.
But if the guys together collectively planned this as a revenge or a get back or we can do it too, that's just immature and stupid. Like, what is the point of that? But if one of them had a birthday party and they did this first, I mean, the lady still would have had a reason to be mad, and I would have got that. But what I'm saying in terms of them doing it now, it just looks vengeful and petty.
Yeah. Simone TV in the chat says, I mean, strategic omission is helpful in marriage, and I'm not married, so maybe.
I agree. I have to agree.
She didn't want that treatment from a young naked guy at all, which I agree she didn't. She said, my husband wouldn't mind naked guys, but would be mad if I got picked up. Like I said, I'm not married, but if my daddy found out my mama was at a naked sip and paint, first, I think my mama wouldn't tell my dad like Heavenly didn't, because my dad would have flipped.
Yeah.
So I guess it just depends on the man.
That's a good point. On the marriage, the relationship in general.
Joseph said, oh God, yes, that is the biggest case of double standard. Dr. Simone is scared her husband would leave her. It's like those women want their cake and eat it too. And then Simone TV said, there's too many cheaters in the men's group. I'm just saying.
Ooh.
That is also true.
Very good point.
Yeah, we've had a few issues with the men and fidelity, so maybe they shouldn't be around a bunch of women. But it seems like it's going to happen, so I guess we'll just have to wait and see if it does.
You think so? Why? Because he said he was going to the 50th birthday party thing?
No, well, I mean, Cecil had already said in the last episode, and Daddy said in this episode, well, we're going to do it. And they could just be doing that to mess with the wives to make them feel bad for doing it in the first place. But I wouldn't be surprised.
I just don't
wouldn't.
understand men's logic. Like, not only is it petty and very immature, but if you've been a cheater, the last thing you want to do is stir the pot and like create a scenario that would make your wife wonder. You weren't concerned about her cheating at this party. You just felt like it was an inappropriate thing to do. You weren't actually concerned that your wife was busting it wide open for these little boys. Come on now.
Especially when, you know, it's going to be on the show and the cameras.
Yes,
they were shooting.
But you should know your wife. You know she's not about to get down, but you've gotten down, sir. So there's that.
Last thing on this topic, just really quickly, it seemed like the girls kind of got, not like actually upset, but kind of poked fun at Mariah, saying, I can't believe you told Aiden.
Right.
Do you think it's fair for them to say that to her? Like, Mariah had kept it to herself?
No. Mariah can do whatever the hell she wants. She's a grown-ass woman. And you invited me to a party that I felt uncomfortable at. And if I want to tell my husband, who I've made a vow to, that I was in a situation that made me feel uncomfortable, that's my right. Like, my girl code doesn't exclude me talking to my husband about my personal feelings about what you decided to do.
And I mean, like I said, the cameras were there. It was going to be on the show, so they would have found out anyway.
Exactly.
So I guess it was kind of protecting herself, because Aiden would have been like, well, why you ain't tell me this happened? I got to find out about this on Bravo.
Yeah, exactly. And then whatever happened to, like I said, the clause of just saying, this is me and you talking. That's it. Like, this is our conversation. I'm sharing with you something that happened, but maybe this isn't something that they want to talk about. So just so you know.
That's true, too.
Right?
Aiden didn't have to go back and mention stuff to the other guys.
Aiden just runs his mouth.
Yeah, we know Aiden can't keep a secret, so no surprise there.
Sheesh.
All right, before we go on, Kittie, do you have a message for our viewers?
Always have a message for our viewers, and it is thank you, and thank you again. We sincerely appreciate you guys. If you're listening to us, please, I forget how it goes. If you're listening, it doesn't matter. If you're listening, if you're watching, rate us. Give us some 5 stars. Give us the thumbs up. Hit like. Whatever says that you're with us, we appreciate. We really appreciate you being in the comments too. Obviously, having a conversation with us is what we're doing this for. We want to engage. So thank you so much for making sure that you stop by and talking and giving us a thumbs up and supporting us. You have literally made us the ESPN of TV talk, and we're super appreciative.
Yes. Thank you for sharing that.
Not a
message.
problem.
And thank you for watching. And thank you to the people who are watching live right now and are in the live chat. So make sure if you're watching and you hear something you like that we said or don't like that we said, let us know in the comments. We may shout you out and read them and, you know, have a little back-to-back. So thank you for doing that. All right, so let's move on. Let's get into the fun stuff. So now it's time for them to go on the trip. They're going to Savannah, Georgia, which I've heard such beautiful things about. I heard it's a great place to vacation.
It is.
Especially if you live in Atlanta. You can just
drive right down the street
and just go. So I guess that was Jackie's idea. She was like, let's just put them on a bus for 4 hours. Should have known that probably wasn't the best idea. Because it seemed like right out the gate, there was arguments. And the first argument was with Heavenly and Toya. And I'm not going to lie, and we watched it together. We were kind of like, where did this argument come from?
We literally had to rewind it to be like, wait, what just happened?
Because it literally went from, oh, Toya got a new house, yay, and Heavenly being like, I love seeing Black people succeed, to Toya and her going back and forth. Like, Toya saying, what did she say? She said, Toya was like, that's the second house. And I guess that Heavenly thought she was kind of like gloating that it was 2 houses. And so Heavenly was like, well, mine's about to be paid off. And she was like, well, your house is only worth about $50,000, so that's why it's about to be paid off. It was just out of nowhere, just shade thrown. Like, why do you think that happened?
You know what I don't understand about this show? And it goes back to what I said at the beginning. There's a whole lot of implied respect for each other. Like, we're grown-ups, we're professionals, we're women that are in positions of power. We should be able to have conversations, gatherings, whatever, as good girlfriends and not have it be something else. Yeah. But I almost think it's like they're saying that they're almost trying to convince themselves. You know what I mean? Because they jump out of their element. The moment emotion comes in, it's like they don't know how to draw it in. And I am not here to wag fingers or make any judgments. I'm not judging. I'm just saying, for me personally, I chose years ago that whenever I argue with somebody that I genuinely care about and love, the last thing that I would ever... Matter of fact, I won't do it. It's to say things that you can't take back. I'm not about to talk about your mama. I'm not about to call you a 500-pound pig. There are things that you just can't. I mean, and then how do you look at this person later on after you done said some craziness? Right. I just don't think that's helpful.
I mean, the girls throw shade in this group all the time.
Shade
and
is one thing. Mean, vicious, come after you. After you just said, I'm so happy for Black people.
I just didn't understand where it came from. Like, how did it go from congratulations, I love seeing Black people was succeeding to your house is only worth $50,000.
Because they're trying to. That's my point.
It just
They're
seemed
like,
out of nowhere.
They seem like they're playing the part in order to get along, to make it along. But for real, they don't F with each other. You know what I mean? It seems like, I love it when black people succeed. That's what I'm supposed to say. And I hope y'all looking at me right now.
But
the
yeah, but
camera's on me.
I really had to like go back through a timeline in my head. Like, what did they get into it on the last episode, or what happened recently? Or I thought Toya and Heavenly. I mean, they've never been like the closest friends,
but they're cordial.
But I never thought they had like issues with each other.
Right.
So if you're watching, watching this
please,
and you're in the live
in.
chat, please let us know why you think out of nowhere they just started arguing, because I was a little confused. I didn't understand it. I thought the shade was super funny. The $50,000 comment, that was gold. Thank you, Toya. But I just didn't.
But
didn't
it's
understand
so
where it came
petty.
from. Yeah. At Simone TV said they look down on Toya because she isn't a business professional. So maybe, I don't know, maybe Toya just thought she was being funny with her comments, which is not above Heavenly. She makes comments like that, and you know underneath that it's actually shade and she's being funny.
Right.
Especially because of Toya's issues with her houses and her taxes. So maybe that's what it is, Simone. But like I said, if you're watching right now and in the live chat, let us know what you think. All right, so they continued on with the trip, yada, yada, yada. Things just went on as they did. They finally get to this house, and I'm not going to lie, when they pulled up to the house, I was like, what is it?
Right, I was a little concerned.
It looked really creepy and old, but I know Savannah kind of just has that old, like, historic, antique look. But what I didn't understand is, why are these grown, wealthy women sharing beds?
No, I didn't get that part either.
I didn't understand. One, Jackie, I mean, I know you're about to gut your whole house and you got a whole bunch of construction that's about to happen, but why are you making people share beds?
Again, I think it goes back to production, to be honest with you. Because think about it, they can not only afford it, they probably would have preferred it to just get a fly hotel and everybody have their own room. But then where's the storyline in that?
Yeah, but I actually was surprised at the fact that they kind of just glossed over the fact that they had to share rooms. Because I know if this was like Real Housewives or anything like that, they would have been like, I'm not staying here. I'm not sharing a room, let alone a bed with you. You got me sleeping in a twin? No, we too grown for that.
Yeah.
And even me and I'm not nowhere near making the amount of money they making. I was even like, dang, they got to share beds. And then people felt like the house was haunted.
Yeah, that was cute. I like how they put that in there.
Yeah, I never heard about what Mariah said about covering the mirrors.
Me
I
either.
wonder what that's supposed to do.
That's how they enter, she said.
Oh, I don't know. I do not want to sit here and try to figure out what's going on in Mariah's head, but maybe it saved
or Ghost's head, for that matter.
Exactly.
Spirits. But, I thought it was just cute that they threw that in, especially with Halloween coming. It was like, oh, okay, let's shake it up a little bit.
Yeah, and Savannah, they say that about Savannah anyway, that it's like that old town and ghosts. Like even Simone TV just said, I think it's a Savannah thing, like to embrace that weird Southern culture in a good, appropriate hotel. Shout out to you. I lived in Atlanta too, Simone, so shout out to you. But,
I lived in Atlanta too. I went to Clark, so shout out to you, Miss
Lady. We both went to Clark, Atlanta.
That's right. CAU?
Yes. I'll be there next week for homecoming, but that's aside from the point. But even though I understand like the antique look and the historic feel of Savannah, I didn't understand why they had to share beds, but they didn't see an issue with it, so whatevs. So as soon as they got there, they got ready for this all-white dinner, and Jackie said they wore all white because it's a revival, and they actually brought history into it.
I thought that was dope.
Yeah, in the black church back in the day, you wore all white and you came to the
still have
revival.
revivals. Yeah, they still have big old tents out there, especially in the South.
Yeah.
It's a celebrated religious event.
Yeah. Now, Mariah thought that so basically, to go back, Jackie was like, we need a revival. We need to talk about all the things that have happened because there has been a lot of issues within the group. But Mariah feels like there's always issues in the group and they always try to get together and get it right, and it never really works, which I kind of don't disagree with. But do you think that they should have done kind of what Mariah said, with just kind of like leaving it as it is and just moving past it and letting it go? Or are you more on the Jackie side? Do you feel like we need to address this and talk it out? Because even though they do talk it out, it doesn't really seem like it solves anything. So do you think it's just kind of a waste of time, or what do you feel?
Progress, not perfection. That's how I really feel. Real friendships, real relationships, understand that there are not always going to be sunny days. That's just what it is.
Yeah.
And as women, unfortunately, we can be very emotional and catty to one another, no matter how much we have with one another. Just ask my best friend. So it's understandable that there are going to be times where y'all are not all on the same page and everything is not smooth. So I get where she's coming from, and I think that she does have a valid point, but it's not to the extent, in my opinion, that she made it. You know what I mean? Like, it don't change nothing. We still the same. I don't know if I agree with that. I think growth is optional. Change is inevitable. Growth is optional. So
I love that.
Yes. So it's going to change no matter what you do. That's what life is. But whether or not you've actually learned from it and become a different person. And in the time that this show has been on the air, they most certainly have grown. Maybe they're not at the pinnacle of where they want to be to each other or to themselves, but they still have an understanding of this. This used to be me, and I'm no longer that person. Yeah. So again, I underscore progress, not perfection. Like, I think they're on their way. Like, give it a minute. It ain't gonna change. Like, come on, ma. It's changed a little bit.
Yeah, Mariah obviously just has her own individual feelings that she hasn't gotten over, which we'll talk about. But it seemed like the beginning of the all-white dinner went really well. They, got out some of their girl codes.
They liked the food.
Yeah, the food was good. They talked about their girl codes and what things you should or shouldn't do as a girlfriend and as being in a friend group. And it seemed like it went really well. But in Married to Medicine fashion, at least they know how to act out in public. They talk a good game as they're doing it.
Right.
They have these ceremonies. They lit candles. Like, they all wore all white. It's just funny. Jackie's an AKA, like I'm an AKA, and we had to do that kind of stuff when we were, in chapter meetings and stuff. Yeah, and when we were joining, wearing all white and lighty candles. Yeah. So I'm not surprised she did that. But it seemed like it went well. Like, nobody argued. Yeah. Everybody talked civilly.
Right.
It seemed like they got good points across. Don't talk about people's families and husbands and don't bring up situations that you don't know all of the information about. Right. Like, good things that people need to know. But as soon as they left the restaurant, Mariah was like, it's funny that we're naming all these girl codes, but such and such said this and such did that, and then it just completely
obliterated what they just started.
Yeah, it's like you didn't waste it. You didn't even make it to the house. I don't know how far the restaurant was from the house, but you barely made it there. And so one of the points that Mariah brought up is she still is harboring on this drug accusation thing. Girl. Now, I never really understood her anger at Jackie because Jackie never outright said Mariah did drugs. Right. Or I heard Mariah did drugs. Right. In her podcast, she asked Mariah, do you think it's true? Now, I guess she was kind of carrying on the rumor, but she never physically said it. But it seems like there's still anger there from Mariah to Jackie. Clearly. Do you think it's warranted?
I do, only because if this is truly your friend, a conversation that you might have, because we're human, right? So we gossip, and it's probably not the best thing to do, especially when you say you care about this person to continue something that they believe or they publicize as a lie. So no. But when you're talking to the general public, as in you're putting it out there for everyone to interpret any way that they like, if you don't know that about social media by now, girl, you need to pay attention. Wake up.
Yeah, that's true.
Because you could say, well, yesterday I woke up and I looked out the window and the sky was blue. And people come back like, so what you trying to say? The sky can never be green? Like, what?
Very true. Very good point.
So I didn't think that it was smart of her to continue to publicize or propel that nonsense, even by commenting on it. Like, she should have said, don't even ask me that. Like, I know you're trying to make for interesting clickbait, whatever, but don't even throw that out. Or if you're going to do it, go ahead and I'll dance around. It's another way she could have handled it.
True, but also it's like she had already had a discussion with Jackie. I know it's a different situation with Quad, and we'll talk about that, but with Jackie had already apologized. They already talked about that. Right. So why is it still this harboring with Jackie?
She can't let it go. I think it's really bothering her that people would think that she did drugs. And I don't know if that's because she's a professional, because she's a doctor. She's not even a doctor though, right?
No, she's just a wife.
Exactly.
She's a wife. I don't want to say it like that. And she is a producer on the show. Like, she's the reason they have this show.
There you go.
So people don't really give her credit for that, but she is.
Okay. That's what's up.
But yes, I think she needs to let it go as far as Jackie. Now, as far as Quad, on the other hand, do you think it is another situation where she still needs to let it go? Because Quad hasn't apologized. She hasn't recanted that info from the episode today. It seems like she's standing by what she said.
She said I saw what I saw.
It's the truth, and I have no reason to lie.
Right.
So do you think Mariah just needs to let it go, because obviously she's not getting an apology, or do you think she should just keep bringing it up until she gets one?
My personal feeling, and it's so funny again with growth, because ask me that 5 years ago, 10 years ago, I would have had a different opinion, but I'm just in a different space and time in my life where I cannot harbor all of that ill will. I just can't hold on to it it. I got too many other things that take precedence, and I'm trying to grow and become the best version of myself. So what do I look like? Keep talking about what you had said. You said you saw me do drugs. I know in my heart I didn't do drugs. Me and the Lord and talked about it. My husband and my family, the people that mean the most to me, don't believe I'm a drug addict. I took a drug test to prove it. That's how much it bothered me. That's how much it was in my soul. And I came out clean. So I have to let this go. Baby, talk about whatever you want. Say whatever you want. I'm a cokehead forever. Yeah. Whatever. At this point.
Another thing that Mariah brought up in her anger of not just these comments is she feels like nobody is
on her side.
Her. Aside from Toya, who I feel like has been defending her. Do you think she's valid in that regard? Do you feel like people should stand up and be like, I don't believe Mariah did this? Or even if they don't believe she didn't, at least stop saying this.
Right. Yeah. That I think should, yes. If you're real friends, enough is enough. Somebody needs to be like, enough is enough. Can we please stop talking about this? I don't believe it, just in case you were wondering how I felt about it. Because nobody's like, I don't think it's their job to defend her. I know she feels alone and that sucks, you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, it's your job. It's your friend's job to be your rider. So they got you, but they're not saying anything. So that doesn't mean that they believe it necessarily. It just means probably they don't want to be don't drag me in this again.
Especially in this situation where they're not only friends with Mariah, they're friends with Quad too.
Exactly.
So I would think that she would be okay with just having somebody just kind of stay out of it. Especially in going on to kind of the next thing with that is it seemed like people were upset that Heavenly jumped in to be like, well, I believe she did do it. So it's like you feel a way that Heavenly jumped into it when she wasn't really in it.
Right.
But you want people to defend you. So it's like, do you want people to stay out of it? Or do you want people to voice their opinion on it?
Again, it goes back to that whole thing about feeling and fact, right? So the logical thing is everybody stay out, mind your business, there's no sides. We're just, because clearly you keep bringing it up, so it's an issue between you and she. We don't even have nothing to do with this. You just keep doing it in front of us. So we shouldn't have anything to say. But emotionally, you want people to only back you, right? That's like human nature, but it's very immature. You can't have it both ways. Jump in, but only say nice stuff, or only back me. Jump in and only have my back. If you jumping in to defend the other side, I don't want to hear what you have to say. Right. I mean, come on, that's Republican Democrat kind of, you know.
And with my thing while I don't necessarily agree that Heavenly should have got into it, she should have just let Quad and Mariah back it up. I do agree with the fact that, okay, Mariah, you're crying, you want all this sympathy, you want to play the victim, you want people to recant what they said and apologize, but you know, you said my husband was cheating on me and that you had all these receipts, but you never apologized about that. You said that Quad slept with your brother-in-law while he was married to your sister. Did you ever give an apology about that or recant that? Mariah has said and done so much to so many people on this show. It's like, how can you really expect for somebody to give that same courtesy when you haven't done the same for them?
Because that's what we do. Like, we want from other people what we're not willing to do for ourselves or for them. There's not, and that's not what friendship is. If these ladies really had a true friendship, then it would be about truth seeking, right? Maybe they need a moderator. Maybe they need have a group
And I think
session.
that's what Jackie does. She tries to do, and she did it today, but it all went to hell after.
And how you gonna talk about somebody's mama 5 minutes after we said we not gonna put families in it? I was just about to bring that up. Heavenly always talks about people's mama.
What is that? I don't know why it's her thing, but it literally happened right after they said in their girl codes not to talk about family. So while I'm not surprised that she did it, it's like you could have at least waited a week after the girl code thing. Like, Jackie talking about she gonna print it out and put it on the scroll. She didn't even get y'all the scroll yet, and you still breaking rules.
Exactly.
So, yeah. So,
and that's what I mean about saying things you can't take back. You don't talk about nobody's mama.
Yeah.
What would possess you?
I don't love Toya's response because it's not the right way to handle things. But she was like, say that in front of my mama gonna be jazz.
Right. Real talk though. I did appreciate Toya coming back like, I'm sorry, did you not hear murder high school? Yeah, that's where my mama come from. She will wipe the floor with you. So say what you want about my mama, but she will come for you. I thought that was a good response. At the end of the day, she didn't even let it ruffle her feathers. She was more like, you don't want this.
Oh my God. We got a lot of people saying things in the comments. Let's start with Joseph. Joseph said, I think Mariah is jealous of Quad because she is on the African American version of The View. Oh, because she's on Sister Circle Live. So she's jealous. So Joseph thinks she's jealous because Quad's on Sister Circle. I mean, I feel like they've had issues since before Quad got on Sister Circle.
But it probably fuels it.
But yeah, it may add to that because Joseph said Mariah doesn't have her own job or income aside from this show, because I'm sure she makes a lot of good money from this show.
Prayerfully.
Simone TV said Mariah is a liar. She never apologizes. She's an adult. I learned that in my 20s. Okay. Donasia said, I'm starting to think Mariah has a crush on Quad, a true obsession of a girl crush. I don't know about that. I think at the end of the day, and Quad kind of said this tonight too, they got along. They get along for the sake of the group.
Right.
So why do they have to keep forcing them to talk and to be friends? Like Buffy said, they don't have to. Maybe they just have to handle it on their own.
That's definitely what needs to happen.
It's going to take them wanting to talk about it. And I don't think that will ever happen. And if it doesn't, that's okay.
That's okay.
Because not everybody has to be friends. I mean, I know y'all are on this show together and y'all have to be in this circle. But if they're able to coexist without it always being an issue, then why keep interjecting and bringing it up?
Exactly. It's not like it's only the two of y'all. It's a handful of y'all. You don't have to mingle with her.
Yeah. Jean Wellsome says, other than Jackie, none of these ladies can let anything go. Doesn't matter if apologies have been made. I 100% agree with that.
Yes.
Because even after they watch next, I'm going into predictions. Next episode, everybody gonna apologize. They're gonna have a kumbaya, and then the episode after that, everybody gonna be blowing up about the same thing that they've already talked about.
And that's what that drives me crazy. It's like, we're professional, we're together, we're grown-ups, we're mature, and then literally 2 minutes later, you pulling your wig off, ready to smack your friend in the face. Your friend.
Yeah.
Come on.
It's so crazy. Well, we'll have to wait and see what happens. Let's get into our special segment.
Yes, let's.
So since this was a show about girl code, let's really quickly give some girl codes that we believe in. Like, it could be one or two. It doesn't have to be super elaborate. But what are some things that you live by within your girlfriend circle that you think should be on the scroll that Jackie made?
I love the music. I think that as girlfriends, you need to... I want to say this, but it sounds so idealistic that it's not really realistic. But complete honesty, I mean, just the same way that you would be with your boyfriend to tell him when you come home from a party that so-and-so was there and this happened and so forth, and I just want you to know my part in it. Why wouldn't you do that? As this is the woman that you say you tell your deepest, darkest to and you love and feels like needs your back. So just... I guess communication is better than honesty. Communicate. You know what I mean? Make sure that they understand all that keying behind her back and I thought and talking on the podcast but not saying it to her face. Honesty is communication is super important to me. That, and as goofy as this sounds, this is real. Not screwing with, dating, kissing, touching, even entertaining the idea of your girlfriend's ex anything. I don't care if she only went on 2 dates with bruh.
Yeah.
For me, that just makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah, that's like the top of the girl code. If it's not like number one, then it's definitely top 2.
Yeah, it should be.
Don't mess with your friend's ex or anybody that she messed with. I think my biggest girl code, especially, I'm going to tailor it specifically to this group because I feel like this is an issue that this group has, especially from last season with all the issues they had with Quad, is don't expect your friend to want to share every single aspect of their life with you. Just because they don't want to break down every little bad thing or wrong thing or good thing that's happening in their life, it doesn't mean that they're any less of a friend to you. That doesn't mean that they don't trust you. That doesn't mean that they don't love you. Sometimes people just need to handle things on their own and be a friend to be like, okay, I know you're going through this and you don't want to share it now, but when you're ready, I'm here.
Right.
And I think that's something that the girls on this show don't know how to do.
Yeah.
So I'm going to tailor that girl code to them.
Gotcha.
All right, let's get into some tweets. Yes. We're only gonna do a few because we're running a little low on time, but I love talking about our tweets. So the first one is from @KingsWorld. It says, "Nobody brought Heavenly into it. She inserted herself. Now, Heavenly, you need to stop now." I do agree.
I agree.
While I do agree with some of the stuff she brought up, it wasn't her place, and she should have just left it alone. The next one is from @BornPretty84. It says, "I'm still mad Contessa quit school because of Scott. Women make sacrifices all the freaking time. But the one time she wants to do something greater, he says, I didn't sign up for this." Now, I get what you're saying because it is a double standard, but I I think she still could have gone to school without
Right
it
in the
involving
city.
her and going to Tennessee. I think that would have been a compromise in their marriage, and I understand Scott not liking it.
Yeah.
So I am mad that she quit school. I think she should have just transferred to a school in Georgia. But I don't think it's fair to put the blame on Scott.
Nor do I.
I don't agree. At Trillery Blinton, all right. It says, where did this Heavenly and Toya argument come from? Thank you.
That's what we said.
So we were the only ones who were confused. Like,
Yes.
where did this, why?
What's happening right now? Rewind.
What is happening? And then the last one is from at Cutie MP. It says, I don't feel any sympathy for Mariah. She talks so much mess about all of the ladies, but thinks that people are supposed to stick up for her. Get over yourself and look at what you say about others.
It seems like this whole clique has a really hard time, maybe besides Jackie, and I'm not trying to make Jackie out to be some prophet, but I see her being more willing to face her demons and hash things out and make apologies than anybody else. You're absolutely right. Mariah is good for pointing fingers and not pointing the finger at herself. How do people, like, I shouldn't say how do people do that. We're human. I do it. But I'm learning every day that that's just not okay. Like, I can't tell you, you popping gun all loud while I'm over here popping gum. Like, it makes no sense. All
right. I'm very quickly, I just love this comment that Simone TV said. She said, there's 14 people watching. It should be 14 likes, y'all. I agree. Like the video. Thank you, Simone, for putting that out there.
Big ups to
totally
Simone.
agree. Yes. All right. We're going to do news and gossip.
Okay.
TV News.
Okay, guys. So we've been introduced to this new, I guess, cast member.
Okay.
They haven't put her in the intro, and I don't know if she's an official Married to Medicine cast member, but she's on the show now.
She got a lot of
friend
hair.
of the show.
That's a whole lot of hair.
I don't know if y'all are like me, where you're like, who is this woman? Like, I know she's on the show. She's Simone's friend, but who is she, and why is she on this show? So here's just a little bit of information about Buffy. So we first met her on the September 29th episode, and it turns out her husband is a well-known, respected Atlanta psychiatrist.
Nice.
But although she is married to medicine, and she, it seems like she's married to a very wealthy doctor, she has her own stuff going on. She is a tax and personal finance professional with her own retail store.
Okay.
And her own tax practice in Atlanta, and she's also very heavily involved in her husband's psychiatric practice. So she, and aside from just being married to her husband, they also work together. She does the taxes and all the finances and stuff for his job. They don't have any kids, but they do have 2 dogs, Louie and Prada.
Of course.
And she's got a lot of money, y'all. From what she said on the show, not only is she just married to money and making her own money from her tax business, but it seems like she was kind of born into money too.
Yeah.
She has a humongous house, which we saw when they went to her house for the party. They don't tell her our net worth, but just know that she has a lot of money.
As she said, we're comfortable. We're not wealthy,
so
but
I
that's
think
what
if
wealthy
she was the
people
one
say.
who was hosting this trip, she wouldn't have had them sharing beds. That's for sure. So,
I don't think so
Jackie,
either.
take notes. All right, guys, let's get into some predictions.
Your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
What you thinking, Kitty?
I think that just as you said, next week they're going to come together and it's going to be an apologetic moment, maybe a few more tears. People are going to kumbaya it out. And I like the fact that she suggested they go on a walk, though. I thought that was super dope.
Yeah.
So yeah, I see that happening. And then the following, there will be some brouhaha, especially if they have Jocelyn come and just say what's up.
I don't think Jocelyn's gonna come back.
That would be dope if she did, though.
I think if anything, even if I'm sure the producers want her to because she brings a lot of drama, but I think Toya probably doesn't want her to come back, and she really doesn't have a purpose on this show.
Yeah, but she's so much fun.
But you never know. My prediction is, like I had already mentioned earlier, I think we're gonna see another Kumbaya and Jackie come together because they still have a couple days left on this trip, and that's just what Jackie does.
Mm-hmm.
And we may see some, apologizing and kissing up and making up, but I don't think it's gonna end there because nobody knows how to let go of things on this show. When there's a problem, it just festers for years. Things are brought up for years. So I think that's going to just be the cycle we continue to see on this show.
Unfortunately.
All right, guys, this was so fun. Thank you so much, Kitty, for joining me
You're
again
welcome,
today.
babe. Thank
I
you
love
for
when you
having
come in.
me.
Pietro, we love you. We miss you. We'll see you next week.
For sure.
Kitty, where can they find you?
Please find me on Instagram at Kitty Kaboom, on Facebook at Kitty Kali, and on Twitter at Kitty Meow.
Yes, and you guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at I am Lexi Fierce. And until we meet again, buzz you later.
Bye. Bye.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.